Beahm, resident of Color Creative Jewel San Sandra, by Mr. Justin Beahm. Uh, Thank you for coming on, giving me some of your time here. So, I have a question for you. When did you first get into both music and horror?
Oh man, well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And a little inside baseball. We had a little snag tonight because of my crazy schedule in terms of me hopping on here. So I want to thank you for your patience with that as well. But the short answer to your question is music has been there from the beginning for me. My grandmother played organ at her church and at
Oh,
weddings, and my uncle played accordion in Wisconsin. Both sides of my family are from Wisconsin. So my uncle's accordion playing and my grandmother's organ playing were both always a part of my life and definitely provided the soundtrack to my childhood. So that led to, I guess, a general love for music, watching when I was really little, watching reruns of Lawrence Welk show and I don't know. Music's just always been there for me. And movies, I I can't say I mean, I was always amazed by them.
yeah.
I never I don't remember feeling like I had seen a bad movie until I was, I don't know, maybe even close to being a teenager, because I didn't have a critical eye in that way. So I was really just floored by everything that I was watching or that I would catch on TV. And the video rental boom was happening when I was growing up. It was the really the perfect time to be getting into all that stuff. And my dad especially was very, very cool about allowing my brother and I to rent whatever we wanted to. And man, it didn't matter what genre. If there was an eye-catching cover, I was in. And I watched as much as I could, renting just armloads of tapes with my brother and my friends, and we'd have sleepovers and marathon as much as we could. And so it caught me early. The first movie I recall making a point to see and it having a huge impact on me was the original Halloween 2.
Oh,
And that was on Halloween night. I think it was fifth grade, fourth or fifth grade, at my buddy's house after we went trick or treating. And I just, he wanted to get back in time to see it because it was his favorite of the Halloween films. And he was way cooler than I was and got to subscribe to Fangoria and whatnot. And so, anyway, he was in a lot of ways an early sort of lighthouse for me in terms of introducing me to things. It was him and my other good friend since preschool, Al, and just exploring the world, not just music and movies, but both of those guys were so hugely influential in my figuring all this stuff out, at least my interest in it. But Halloween 2 is the one that I remember, just sort of a real visceral response, scared the hell out of me, but also left me completely fascinated.
yeah.
And from that point forward, I was borrowing the Fangorias and the Famous Monsters and started picking up film score tapes and things. And I just caught the bug. And I guess prior to that, I had been reading the Crestwood House Monster series books and any other monster stuff that I could get from the library, but primarily the Crestwoods because they were down in the kids' floor and I didn't have to sneak up to the adult floor in our local library to track those down. And so I was reading about these movies before I saw them and these monsters and things. And I've always pointed to that as I think when it really began. But because it was prior to me witnessing most of these movies, that was more of a reading experience for me.
Cool. That's really cool. Now, you're a wrestling fan. I grew up watching wrestling because of my grandmother.
Yeah. Who were her favorites, by the way? I've
um,
never asked you that.
Oh my God. See, now my grandparents, if it weren't for both of them, I would not know who Haystack Calhoun was.
Okay.
So my
Big
my
guy.
my grandmother loved Haystack Calhoun. Um, and my grandfather was a huge Bruno Sammartino fan.
Oh yeah, of
So
course.
they told me all about wrestling, and my mother, she got me into horror movies. Me and my brother, I was 8 years old, and my brother was 9 when my mother decided to show us John Carpenter's Halloween.
Okay.
Uh, and the funny part of that is later on, when my grandfather, he showed me a bunch of westerns, and one of the first westerns we watched was The Sons of Katie Elder, starring John Wayne.
Yeah.
But later on, he showed us, he was showing me, I should say, a movie with Steve McQueen called Nevada Smith.
Okay.
And in it, there's this woman who gets skinned. They're like taking a knife to her back.
Oh
And
man.
my grandmother, his wife, her name was Peggy, and she goes, Ray, what are you showing that boy? And he looked at my grandmother. He goes, well, our daughter showed him John Carpenter's Halloween, so I could show him this. Uh, so, yeah, and there was nothing more said after that. But yeah,
That's great.
that's funny. But yeah, I learned about wrestling at a very young age from both my grandparents. My grandmother was more of a mark about it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because when she watched something on TV like a western, there was a western called "The Cowboys" with John Wayne in it, and the guy who kills him off in the movie, she goes when she would see that same actor in another part, she goes, "Look, Ray, that's the son of a bitch who killed John Wayne." Like, what?
She sounds amazing.
Like, that's just the way she was, and I'm like, "That's funny." I'm like, "Wait, Grandma, don't you know the actress?" No, I just know he killed John Wayne in some movie.
That's great. Well, she's the perfect person to get into wrestling then. I mean,
Yeah,
to be able to suspend that disbelief and really buy into the characters. I think that's fantastic. And I love that she was into haystacks because I never hear he was such a, I mean, pun intended, a towering presence. This guy was just massive, a real attraction, but I've never heard anyone say that he was their favorite. So I think it's just so cool that that was her favorite.
I'll tell you something I miss the most on TV, and it's how my grandparents showed me old school wrestling. Was ESPN Classic used to show the old wrestling.
Okay.
It used to show Haystack Calhoun and Bruno Sammartino when it first was on.
Yeah.
Um, and that's something they would sit me down and watch it with me, and because they would babysit me over the weekend while my mother and dad worked, and so it was like, oh, that's interesting. Here's this big guy with this horseshoe around his neck. It's like what or whatever it was, it's like weird. Like it's like this dude's huge. He's like 600 pounds or something. Oh my gosh.
I
What
love that stuff. I used to like watching um what was it? It was the WWF show that was hosted by Bobby the Brain and Gorilla Monsoon together. And a lot of what they would play, most of what they would play, it was them in a studio. I don't know why it's escaping me right now what the name
was
of
it
the show.
Wrestling Challenge?
Well, Wrestling Challenge was also, I think, rolled into these productions because you could kind of tell when they
Yeah.
were doing back to backs and stuff. But this was almost more of a, well, it'll occur to me at some point randomly in our discussion, but I loved Bobby and Gorilla together. Bobby Heenan, I think, is just the absolute one of the greatest minds in the history of wrestling and greatest personalities. I adore the guy so much, and he and Gorilla had a fantastic rapport together, and they were just so funny. But they were showing, to your point, this matches that they were showing was it wasn't a lot of big stuff. They would recap the news with Hogan or whoever, but most of it were matches that were filmed often at Madison Square Garden. But it would be lower card matches with guys you've never heard of, or sometimes squash matches with jobbers, whoever. And I've always appreciated the diversity in that. because those wrestling shows used to be so short compared to how long they run today. And they
Yeah,
didn't have time to allocate to a lot of developmental angles and things. Like they didn't have the screen time for someone new to just walk in and squash someone every week, or for there to be some job guys or lower card guys. I mean, so anyway, this show allowed, like, gave us the chance to put eyes on more of the roster. And I really appreciated that. And it's cool. Guys like Haystacks, that's where they would end up during this era.
yeah. I think that's something with wrestling that today, like, I miss the vignettes of like these, how they would build up the characters.
Yeah. Before
Like,
they arrive.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I miss that. That's something it's like they don't do it anymore. Um,
It's
they,
like the surprise. I think the reason why, here's what I think changed, is that with, and this I'm pretty sure began with the Monday Night Wars. And that is how vital the element of surprise was during that
yeah,
time. Because you didn't want to risk people hearing about Lex Luger
yeah,
showing up at the Mall of America
yeah,
the same night that he's on WWF TV. Like, if you tease that, it would blow the whole thing. And that's when the surprise drop of talent
yeah.
seemed to really pick up. And now it's kind of the same way. If someone leaves one promotion, they disappear for a while, and then they all of a sudden appear on TV on the other one. And I think it's less exciting for me because you just get one little pop out of it instead of weeks of buildup. That has to help more, in my opinion. But what do I know?
Yeah. You talked about Shinsuke Nakamura on Facebook. Could you imagine if they showed Shinsuke Nakamura's matches in like music places where music played, where he was playing an instrument or performing like as a musical star, and he had to fight like another wrestler who was competing against
All they
him?
had, my brother is the one who introduced me to Shinsuke when he had first come into, I think, NXT.
Yeah,
If I remember correctly, I have to, I should have said early on that I'm a little out of touch with some of the current stuff. But Shinsuke, my brother was like, you will love this guy. You have to see him. And his style is so intense. And they really had him on a tear in NXT. And I was blown away. The strong style thing, I had some exposure to it, but I'd never seen it done with the kind of artistry that I was seeing from him. I mean, there may be better guys in that realm, but I don't know. But I was floored. And when it was clear the audience was really drawn to him. And I posted the other day, that's the post that you're mentioning, where he was making his way to the ring. I think it was his first WrestleMania. Is that right?
believe so.
Yeah. But just listen to how people responded to him.
Yeah,
I mean, it was like, yeah, it's like a pop for The Rock or for Austin almost. I mean, it's insane. And they're singing along with his theme. And I always just thought, geez, I'll tune in here and there.
yeah,
And I never see him, never hear about him. So I'm not the most well versed on the current WWF situation, but it has seemed to me like he just kind of disappeared, which is what happens with a lot of talent.
yeah.
But
Well,
did,
nowadays, unfortunately, they take these NXT guys, and when they bring them up, all they do is they put a belt on them, and within like 3 months, the belt's off them. It's like, what are you doing? Like that makes no sense. Like instead of
hmm,
doing these vignettes and building up because again, build do a vignette, build up the character that they're coming to Raw or
right.
SmackDown. It's stupid that it's separate because they don't even keep consistency with that,
Yeah.
and then that way your audience knows who's coming. Look, we know the internet's out there, but I still want the element of surprise. I mean, I
Yeah.
appreciate, the story building, I guess, more so than I guess the newer fans or somewhat. but I'm an old school guy. So I mean,
Well,
I've never.
I
Sorry,
wonder
go
though if part of the problem that you're talking about is the result of the build,
ahead.
the lack of build. Because if you're getting the quick pop off a surprise debut, that gives you one night, and then the audience is going to be like, I don't know. When I think about it, it kind of the audience needs you to lead them. Then
Yeah,
they need you to take you on whatever these next steps are going to be with that wrestler. And all the audience has to, this is the kind of downside to it in my mind. When someone just shows up who's been established on another brand, at least in the beginning, if you're not doing a build up, if you're not teasing it or anything, all they have to reference is memories and footage from the other promotions.
yeah,
And so, how does that help you if you're just sending, oh, I forgot about him, or oh, I was hoping that he or she would show up here. I'm going to go watch all the stuff that I used to love watching on AEW or whatever. Well, that's not going to help WWE. And so it's a very strange thing that I would love to see it transition back to a more long-term storytelling type approach that begins before the person's even there. I think back to goofy guys like Skinner.
yeah,
And do you remember Glacier in WCW?
yeah.
Forever Glacier ads and stuff. And then when he showed up, he sucked, but that's okay. It was fun to look forward to what it may be.
I mean, I have fun with this, but WCW did build up the Yeti. I mean, you know,
That's my guy. That's my guy.
you know, they built up the Shockmaster. I mean,
Yep. Yep.
even though it didn't go as the way they planned,
Oh,
they still built those characters up.
they did. Yeah, they you can't argue that. And they would try characters and not just introduce them. And I think that was a bit of a difference where Vince seemed and WWF at that time seemed a little more like it was more introduce a character versus a jobber at house shows and things,
Yeah,
and then maybe put him on a lower card of a pay-per-view or something. So you have the goon just shows up. I don't remember promos prior to the goon just showing up. The hockey guy. Do you remember
yeah,
him? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, the one promo I remember was when Barry Windham became the stalker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's in the woods like he's Jason or
Yeah.
like, what is this? This looks like a horror movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But WCW would do exactly what you said. You would get builds on guys, and then they would inevitably screw it up because it was WCW. The Shockmaster is my favorite of that tops the list
Yeah,
of wrestle crap and like the worst moments, but also the best moments in wrestling. And I have the action figure of him that I will never part with. And I love telling people who are unaware about that debut because it was so awesomely, completely messed up. The whole thing.
yeah. See, I'll confess, I liked the Eddie a lot, and so much so when I was in school, I wanted to dress up like the Yeti for Halloween.
Well,
But
it's just a mummy.
it's just a mummy. And my mom said, "You realize it's just a mummy right there. It's not really a Yeti." And I said, "Well, can I just get a mummy costume?" And I was the mummy for Halloween,
Oh my
basically.
gosh, you did it.
And I was like, "Well, no, I'm the Yeti. I'm the Yeti." And people are like, "No, you're a mummy."
You
They were,
see? Even people who aren't watching were just like, "Are you kidding me?" Maybe if you wore the right like sports shoe, that would have made
yeah,
it look a little more. But what a
yeah,
weird. That's a great example of something that seemed so improvised.
right,
And that's the figure that I need from whoever is Mattel or whoever to stand next to my Shockmaster. I need the Yeti.
yeah.
Because remember, Shivani called him the Yeti.
Yep,
I
yep.
think I think it was Shivani who did.
It
I even
was.
I even made T-shirts for my son, one for my son, one for me, with the Yeti on the front of it when he's like charging down to the ring when you're first seeing him. So
That's
I
cool.
I legit have two Yeti homemade shirts. It's just for him to go to the ring, anyone who's listening to this and hasn't seen the footage, there was a character called everyone knows what a Yeti is, right? Most
Yeah,
people know what a Yeti is. It's a, how would you say, somewhere in the family of Bigfoot,
Bigfoot.
maybe white hair, who knows, but
Yeah,
certainly a big hairy creature that is some kind of beast.
yeah,
WCW's version of that, why they use this name, I don't know, is a guy walking out, as you said, just looking like a mummy. And then he comes out and bear hugs and kind of dry humps Hulk Hogan, I think, or the Giant. I don't
yes,
remember who it was. And then everyone shit on that, right? The crowd's like,
yeah.
boo, what is this? It's not even a Yeti. This is just a dude in some toilet paper. And so then do you remember when they rebranded him?
I forget what they read. I
A
know that
ninja.
a ninja. With that.
So they put him in this enormous, because the guy was big. Ron Reese, I think was his
Yeah,
name.
Ron Reeds. He had short arms.
He does conventions now and he'll dress up as it and pose. But anyway, not as the ninja version. Then they, just like with Shockmaster, they introduced the Yeti a second time as though we forgot that amazing initial introduction. But he comes out dressed as a ninja. Now it's a Yeti ninja? Question mark. And they did the same thing with Shockmaster after he fell through the wall, tripped
Yeah,
over that board at the bottom. His stormtrooper helmet rolls off. I think it's Sid who goes, Jesus Christ, in the background. You can hear it on the TV.
yeah,
Then they reintroduce him as, I think, a construction worker.
yeah,
After,
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, just change the name altogether. You can't, it's too identified with this moment now. A Yeti is a thing, first of all, that you blew it. Second, okay, you made the Yeti a mummy. Cool. You can't just say now he's a ninja. Come on. Then this is all WCW, by the way.
I
All of that.
know. Well, I'll save the best for last when they did the demon for Kiss. You remember that?
Yeah, I have that figure too.
That was that. I love how they built some of built it, and then they had him coming out. Like his entrance was awesome.
Yeah. And he had the band playing when he first came out, remember?
Yes. Yeah.
And
Oh
I'm a
my
huge
God.
Kiss fan, so I was absolutely on board.
That was the look of him was badass.
It was.
All the way. Um,
Do you have that figure?
no, I don't have the figure, but the memory of the character in my mind is
Yeah.
forever etched there. It's like
Oh,
a lot of the older wrestlers like that I remember they're forever etched there. Like you're saying, I remember Demolition. I remember when Mr. Fuji would wrestle with Demolition.
yeah.
Um,
Demolition's my all-time favorite tag team.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and I
awesome.
have, not only do I have, they finally came out with, I think once they signed their Legends contract with WWE,
Yeah,
they did these Legends figures that are just amazing. And they
yeah,
come with the mask, and I got Fuji standing next to him. But a few years ago, one of my friends, Jake, also grew up with Demolition as his favorite tag team. And so I think it was for Christmas, I commissioned a special effects makeup guy I know to recreate the masks, like the Demolition masks that they would wear to the ring, the black with the spikes on them and the cowl on the back. And this guy just nailed it. So
awesome.
so he made one for me and then one for Jake that we both now proudly have on, I don't know, foam heads or whatever in our apartments to celebrate Demolition forever, because they were just so great. And I'm glad they finally got into the Hall of Fame for whatever that means in the large picture. I'm glad they finally got there.
Mine was the Bushwhackers. I like Luke.
Oh, so fun. Yes.
They go around licking people. You
I
can't.
saw, I can't even tell you how many times my dad worked at the newspaper in the town where I grew up. And so he would get free tickets because they were somehow partners with the arena in town that all the wrestling and car shows would come to. And so every time WWF came to town, we would go. The
Yeah,
Bushwhackers seemed like they were always on the card. They were there. I don't even know how many times we saw them, but it was so the energy in the room, I think second only to Ultimate Warrior,
Yeah.
because this was the time when Warrior was really big. Hogan, I think, had maybe even already left, or he was. I mean, these were house shows that we were seeing. They were not pay per views or anything. So Hogan wasn't showing up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa
No.
most often. But the Bushwhackers always did. And when that music came on and the kids, everyone just went nuts. And these kids were craning their necks, putting their heads out there so Luke and Butch could come by and at least give them a good noogie, let alone once in a while give some poor child's head a lick, which when you think about it is absolutely insane. They
That
were
wouldn't
great though.
that wouldn't fly today.
It
But
wouldn't, but they were hardcore when they were the
yeah,
sheep herders prior to all that. Have you seen their stuff as sheep herders?
I saw it recently. I did not know they were that hard. But you know what?
Oh,
It it worked for them early on. You know what I
oh,
mean?
absolutely. It put them on the map for sure. And that just makes it even more funny when you look at how they were and the fun they were having when they got to WWF. They were probably relieved.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the same for Shinsuke. Like, I don't have to almost die every night now. Cool. And I think it was probably the same for Luke and Butch. Those guys are awesome. And I think it's Luke who's still alive, if I remember. I can't remember. One of them had passed away relatively recently, but I'm glad one of them's out there still kicking around, stomping and licking heads.
That's it. That's it. Uh, So I have to ask you a question about the Halloween franchise. I mean, you're obviously very familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what would you like to see them do in the next installment?
It's funny because there's all this talk now about another one
Yeah,
again. And I don't, what I would do is I've been maintaining this for years. I'm not saying that this is the only way to go, of course.
right.
What I would love to do is, or to see happen at least, is to have a backstory series on Dr. Loomis before he meets Michael. It can even end they can plan and pre-shoot the final episode for season 4 or whatever, um, with him approaching maybe Smith's Grove to meet Michael, which would lead up to all the events of everything that we know in the other movies. Fine. I would like to know, and it's completely open in terms of potential because it's despite Loomis being such a beloved character in that series, in many ways the heart of the franchise. We know so little about him, right? And
Yeah,
I want to know about his cases where he was learning his craft
yeah,
because it could be something that's almost like Kolchak, who you're also a fan of, that uh, he could be going on. I mean, like encountering these patients, it's endless. The potential that could be in there, like in X Files, it could be a monster of the week, or it could be a 3-part series of episodes where you're diving deep on some character or where they're from. And the character of Loomis, I think, is just so magnetic and yet also underexplored and absolute potential. And I would love for the whole thing to be packaged in the spirit of Hannibal,
yeah,
the TV series Hannibal, which I maintain is probably the most beautiful and haunting and horrifying TV series ever. And I would love that treatment for the backstory of Loomis leading up to the events that we know from Halloween 78. What about you?
I would love to see a Loomis backstory too. Again, there's so much they could do with this franchise. I
Right.
think there's a lot of meat on the bone.
Yeah.
I've always had a theory of Dr. Loomis that the reason he knew that Michael was evil so well is that because I remember when I was in the fifth grade, my former history teacher, Mr. Elias, shout out to him, not that he'll see this, but he showed us this videotape of these soldiers when they discovered the concentration camps.
Hmm.
and where the doctor, when he was examining the Holocaust patients, he couldn't determine whether they were. He said it was so hard to tell which one, the living from the dead.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And to see that, he said he felt, what kind of evil person would want to do this? And the first character I thought of was Sam Loomis seeing something like this,
Hmm.
because it's like, what more evil act do you need to understand how evil men, the evil men can commit,
Yeah.
is the world, and that's
Yeah.
something I always thought, because again, they used Donald Pleasance's real age. Why not have it just say Dr. Loomis was a World War II veteran, and he was a medical doctor in the army, and he was a part of that group that discovered those camps.
That's an interesting take. That's
You know,
fascinating.
you know, why not go that route? Or if you really want to start it younger, start it in London and start it with the bombings of London during World War II, or even
Hmm.
younger. Maybe he starts studying people who commit smaller crimes as a younger man. Maybe he witnesses a thief steal something, and instead of reporting it to police, he stops him. Why'd you do that? Why'd you steal that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Small stuff like that. But
Yeah.
there's a lot they could do with that character that would really fascinate people, I think.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. It's rare to have a character that is so well known already. So you don't have
yeah,
to introduce it to the audience. And
right.
yet, no one historically has thought to explore him.
Yeah,
Zero. As I mean, the closest we got, maybe. I've always talked about, I'm sure I've talked to you in the past about how much I love that scene in with Reverend Sayer in the pickup truck.
yeah,
I love that one. But then almost as much as we get in terms of a glimpse into Loomis's world is in six.
yep,
And that's when Wynn first shows up to ask him to come back to Smith's Grove. And we're seeing his house, like where he lives, his typewriter. How did we never get a chance to see any of that before? It's amazing to me in all these movies.
yeah. I had Daniel Farron's on here who wrote it, and I said, man, this was a great movie. Came up with this was a lot of fun. And to see a Dark Shadows alum like Mitchell Ryan in that movie, you
Yeah.
know, was a lot of fun. But you're right, we do see Sam Loomis's house, and we hear him say, he tells Wynn, I buried the ghost in this manuscript, and you see, like, holy hell, he's been writing.
Yeah.
I mean, so he had to write about Michael. What happened to the manuscript, right?
It's it's just so fascinating. There's so much there. People can complain online and say, "Oh, they're talking about another one, just let it die." It's like, no,
There's
there's
still
still
a
a
lot.
lot to be explored here. And if it's in the right hands, and whether people love Halloween 6 or not, I understand it's a can be a polarizing film for people, but you gotta love that Daniel is one of us,
Yeah,
that he showed up with that Bible, the Halloween Bible, and sat in front of Mustafa and was like, look, man, I got you. Like, I understand this in a way that I think is probably different than most of the people you're talking to right now. And for him to walk into it with not just a plan, but also that kind of passion, I have deep admiration for him and how he approached getting involved with a franchise like that. I think it's just cool.
some something else I'd like to see too. If they ever did like a, I know they talked about doing a TV series, but if they ever actually did one,
Mm-hmm.
go back to '78 one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of telling it through Laurie's point of view, Sam Loomis's, you'd see a
Ooh,
you'd see a middle-aged man sitting in a living room. He's smoking a pipe. He's reading the newspaper from 1978, Halloween night. You don't know
yeah.
who this guy is. And this woman, his wife, comes down in a nightgown and says, Hey, Howard, I don't think we're getting any more trick or treaters. His porch light's still on. And he puts out his pipe. He's holding up the newspaper. He goes, The goddamn Bears aren't making the playoffs.
Hmm.
And he sets down his newspaper. He goes to the door and he hears something. Here's what sounds like screaming. He opens the door and here's these two little kids coming toward him. And he stops them with his hands and he realizes who they are. He goes, Tommy Doyle, Lindsay Wallace, what are you doing out this late? And they say, Mr. McKenzie, Mr. McKenzie, you got to help Laurie Strode. She's in danger. And before he can ask what's going on, he hears it bang, 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 bang. Here's the six gunshots
Mm,
down the street.
wow.
And he pulls them into the door, calls the police, gives the address to the Wallace house, says, hey, shots have been fired. And I always wondered, why the Mackenzies? Laurie Strode could have picked anybody.
Yeah.
Why them? Why, these people? And to me, there would be two reasons. One, they're grandparents. They're older than what they are. They're
Mm,
raising their grandkids.
yeah.
And the other reason, well, Howard Mackenzie would be a World War One veteran. He
Oh,
and he would
interesting
be
tie-in.
he would be a Medal of Honor winner.
Yeah.
Give these characters something that why they matter to those people.
Yeah.
Why did this couple? I mean, yeah, she probably babysat for them, but is that really just the only reason to send them there? You know what I mean? Because she
Right.
knocks on this woman's door to say, help me," and that woman ignores her.
Right.
So she has to send them to somebody who she knows isn't going to ignore her cries. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
But
That's interesting. And that's the great thing about time with these things is that
yeah,
we can sit and theorize and hypothesize about how things can be intertwined,
yeah,
connected. The It's just that's the moment that we're in
yeah,
because people, I think, more than ever are more accepting of like a late stage sequel, many years removed. It just seems like everyone is much more open to continued exploration of established franchises and characters and movies in a way unlike ever before. And so the generation that is now of age during this moment is we're the age that grew up with these things and having these discussions. And so hopefully we can continue to see some people get a little more creative with how they're handling these. I hate to say IPs, that sounds so stupid and corporate, but
right,
how they're handling these franchises and these titles and the characters, especially, not mishandling them, being considerate of their histories, and not just the characters, but the actors too. And so I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what happens.
me
I'm excited
too.
about the video game too, which I don't get
Oh yeah,
excited about video games. I don't play them really, but I'm pretty
yeah.
pumped about that. What are your thoughts on that?
I pre-ordered that thing so fast. So I grew up a gamer. Now I do have a question for you. Do you have a favorite scary board from a game?
A scary
Like a
game, you're saying?
like a game that okay, let's say the scariest level on a game for you. Do you have one?
Oh. I didn't grow up much of a gamer. I grew up with lots of friends who had
Same.
systems, but I never really did. Eventually, my brother got a Sega Genesis at some point, but that's as far as it got in our home. And so I still to this day, it's comfort food for me to play Super Mario from Nintendo, for
Oh,
example, like that kind of old school stuff, scrolling left to right, jumping and hitting blocks and whatnot. Meanwhile, my son is just like a master at um, like Minecraft and stuff, where he creates these entire cities and
yeah.
subway systems and whatever. It's amazing how far it's come, and he has a driving game that looks like it's real. I sound like such an old man, but anyway, I remember I haven't played a lot of games in my adult life, but I did really enjoy it. It didn't scare me, but I really enjoyed when the Friday the 13th game came out that was kind of the
Yeah,
communal thing. Do you remember that?
yeah.
And that was fun just because I had never experienced online gaming with people before. And it was neat to hop in there and run around and play. And I played, I remember at one point I did have a PlayStation, I don't know, 2 or something at some point. And there was, maybe it was one, and there was an Evil Dead game that drove me absolutely crazy. I could just never get very far in that game
For the PS1.
for PS1.
Oh God.
Maddening. But then I played, what is the game where I think they made a recent movie or series out of it, where you're in a cabin in the woods and, oh my God, I cannot remember the name of it. Final something. It has a skull on the front of it, I think. Do you know the game? Is this helping you at all that I'm trying to
I'm
refer to
trying to
this
think
game?
of it. Um,
Let me see if I can find this. Hopefully you can edit this out if it's too unbearable for people. Let's see.
oh my God.
I
Uh,
do. Until Dawn.
okay, okay.
That's the one that I played, and I thought that actually had some scares in it.
Uh,
That one was effective. And now I'm scrolling through a list of horror games right now, and I remember Silent Hill, a couple of the Silent Hill
yeah.
games, but those were more striking visually, and then the audio design on those was cool for its time.
Oh,
But I didn't get I never got too far into it. What would you say is the scariest thing that you've encountered?
scariest board ever, no hesitation. Thief, Deadly Shadows
Hmm.
is the game. The Shell Bridge Cradle, Mr. Beam. The Shell Bridge Cradle. And the reason I say this, you play this thief who steals stuff, obviously. It's set in the olden times. And there's this evil witch that's after you. Like she
Hmm.
controls these glyphs and stuff, and you're trying to find out about her. And you visit this inspector named Dreb, and
Okay.
he tells you this story about this orphanage where he grew up and how he hid there with his friend. And the sorceress killed his friend, and he was so silent and shocked and horror. And you're thinking, oh, you got to go to this place to see if this woman's still there, right? And he says, "Oh, the place might be haunted." Wait, an orphanage haunted? Why? Well, you start to learn it was an orphanage, and then it was an insane asylum,
Oh boy.
and then you learn, oh no, 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 it was both at the same time. And there was experiments on patients, on the kids. People were tortured. There was a fire, and the place seems to breathe. It has a heartbeat, and whatever you do, the place will not let you leave. You keep wanting to leave, but it keeps giving you stuff to do, and
Wow.
it's so damn terrifying because you
How
have
old
these.
is this?
This was back in 2000.
Wow,
This is
that's a really evolved
that
the
that's
background story is pretty incredible.
Well, Thief is my favorite, one of my favorite franchises. It's not specifically horror.
Okay.
And they're remastering one of the games for this winter, which I'm excited about. But because again, I love stealth games. Because one of my favorite stealth games was Alien Isolation. That was like scary as hell.
Hmm.
They're doing a part two to that, but Thief has always been a lot of fun because you get to sneak around and steal stuff,
Oh, that's great.
so and experience terrifying things.
But there's enough there to genuinely frighten too.
Yes. Yeah.
Huh.
Well,
Wow.
this little ghost girl gives you your task, which is just terrible. It's like, please leave me alone. Just go away.
That's so amazing.
Oh my goodness. I do remember running into Pyramid Head when I first played the Silent Hill 2. That was just horrifying. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, never again. Never again. Because he's just there on a staircase landing. It's like, what are you? What? Why are you here? Leave me
Oh,
alone.
that's great.
That's horrifying. But
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Well, I love I really enjoyed the first Silent Hill movie. I have not seen the second one yet. Have you seen the new one.
The newest one, it's pretty good actually. It does certain things that the first one didn't do. I like that they went more Jim Morrison for the character
Hmm.
because it's more of like a punk rocker, but or heavy metal guy, if you will. And
Okay.
his experience is a lot different than the girls was. Now they do have certain things in there. Actually liked it. It was good. I know a lot of people aren't as enthused as I am for about it, but I thought it was really good. The guy who did the first one, he did a really good job with this one. It's different, and just because it's different doesn't mean, everybody's gonna hate it or like it, how that goes.
Yeah, and I've heard I haven't heard a lot of positive about it. That's why I was so curious to know what your impression was.
It's good.
And which surprises me because it's the same. I mean, this is like the same team that's
Yeah,
bringing you the film. And I worked on I think, I don't know, Blu-ray or whatever. I don't think it was
yeah.
4K at the time, but the Blu-ray of the first one. And really, I mean, he's so, Christoph, I believe is his name, Gans. And he was so passionate about it still, a decade later or whatever it was. He still talks with such reverence about that film and about the game. And so I thought if once I heard that he was back on board for the second, I was like, oh man, this is going to be stellar. But then everyone started complaining, and I'm like, oh, and
What's
what are they missing? You know?
what's crazy is they brought a lot of that same passion to this movie. I
Yeah,
mean, you know what I mean? They gave it
sure.
their
Yeah,
best effort. I don't.
yeah.
It's just
He's not going to set out to make a bad movie. I mean,
right.
very few people do. So yeah, I understand that. I'm going
I
to
mean,
see it at some point. I
you
will.
should.
I'm
You
just
should
I don't
definitely.
understand
I picked up
the
the
hate.
DVD as soon as it came out too.
Yeah,
Stuff. I mean, because I was excited that he was doing another one. I'm like, I like
sure.
the first one, but based upon because I said this is what a video game movie should look like here. If you're
Yeah,
thinking a Silent Hill movie,
I thought
um,
the same thing. And
I mean,
now he made he did that thing
yeah,
where his creation, which is based on another creation, became the template for all the fans and their cosplays and their costumes and fan fiction, fan films. I don't think I've been at a single convention event and since that movie came out where there wasn't some kind of pyramid head character and usually a couple of nurses with them.
what I loved about the first movie so much too is that I know that it's fictionally they said West Virginia, but I'm
Mm,
from Pennsylvania and I know the story of Centralia. Uh, Centralia, he that town is based on Centralia, PA.
okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but
I have not. No.
uh, so
Refresh me.
so Centralia, PA was this very small town in Pennsylvania, and they had this. They were they were burning garbage, and during the burning, they went to put out the fire. Well, the fire sunk underneath the ground, like it collapsed, and there was this mine shaft where these fresh coals were there, and the coals caught
Just
fire,
burning.
and it keeps burning to this day.
Oh my
And the
gosh.
town, I mean, it's been long since abandoned. The road's cracked open. Now they put
Yeah.
dirt over the owner who owns it, the person who owns it now, put dirt over the roads because he doesn't want people going back there. Because again, it's an abandoned town. The state, no, the state doesn't take ownership over it. You know what I mean? It's that kind, and so that's the story of that's the town he's based in the first movie that he's basing West Virginia off of is Centralia, PA.
That is so wild. I
It's
mean, what a creepy and perfect. So not to just not look at the game, but also to find a real life point of reference.
yeah,
That's what I mean about his passion with this
yeah,
stuff. And I love creative people who are like that, where it's it's not them going the extra mile. It's just how they approach what they do. with a kind of depth and obsession like that. I think that's just the greatest.
I have to ask this. What's your favorite finisher for a wrestling move?
Oh, demolition.
There you go.
Dude, how is there anything more violent looking
Yeah.
than when one of them gets the guy over their knee,
Yep.
holds him there, and then off that rope, he comes down, just crushing. That is probably my all-time favorite finisher. How about you?
I always loved Macho Man's Randy Savage elbow off the top.
Oh, Bionic. Yep.
Yep. Oh my
Yep.
God. That was just because you didn't see too many people go to the top back then.
Yeah.
Uh, but it was so cool to watch him fly through the air. And then when you see Jimmy Superfly Snuka and stuff like,
Mm-hmm.
my
But
God.
Randy was, I mean, even like Super Snuka, he was a very agile guy.
Yes. Yes.
Randy was a great wrestler, of course,
Yep.
but he was also a big guy. And
Yeah.
that's what you really weren't seeing a whole lot of back then, were the big guys doing that kind of stuff. And the way that he had mastered the kind of Michael Jordan air thing where he didn't need a guy close to the turnbuckle he was climbing. He would put him on the other side of the ring and then cross over, climb, and he would fly across the ring. And it seemed like he was in the air forever and his tassels fluttering and stuff. It was so great. He was amazing.
He was. I see. I remember Vader. Here's this big dude doing a moonsault.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
mean, you don't see that a lot.
Right.
I mean, what an amazing athlete to take. Here's this 300-pound man flipping in the air
Yeah.
backwards.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to
In
me.
an era where there weren't a lot of guys doing a lot of the aerial stuff just at all.
And I'm,
Now, well, now people are kind of desensitized to it. I would say
yeah,
with pretty reasonable confidence that it's like Jim Cornette always says that matches are just high spots and flips, and there's so much of it now that it doesn't. The special element is a little lost, and it's frankly, it's funny you ask about finishers because what happened to finishers, man?
yeah.
What happened to them? You got even Roman Reigns in the last pay per view. How many Superman punches do you give? That would, do you remember the day? You do remember the days where when that finisher was pulled out, you knew. Done.
I mean, the only time they ever did that stuff is if it was for a story.
Right.
And I mean, that was rare. That was so damn rare. And now
Mm-hmm.
it's like the finisher means no. I mean, remember Jake the Snake Roberts DDT. You didn't kick out from that.
Never.
No, you didn't. I mean,
No
the
way.
first at all. I mean, so I just think they've they're killing the illusion in every way.
It's too bad. And this is part of the problem with how do you build guys when everyone has the same, or so many people have at least very similar tool sets?
Yeah,
When you knew when someone was walking in the ring, if the finish, it's almost like when you would play some kind of collector card game and you have so many points assigned to the finisher of a I don't know, character A versus character B. Well, this guy, character A, is a lot stronger on attack, and character B doesn't have as strong a defense. Well, character A is going to win this. They're going to mathematically have to win this, and if they don't, there's got to be a good story to tell me why. And
yeah,
there's got to be good cheating, and there's got to be a run in, and there's got to be a loaded glove or whatever. But now, and that's what the finishers used to do when
yeah.
they're coming to the ring. And I remember when I was a kid, and I'd be like, no one's going to kick out of Hogan's leg. Like he's going to drop that leg. And no one really ever did. But that was a booking issue more than a storytelling issue. But still,
Mhm.
now Brock Lesnar,
Yeah.
the biggest beast in the game, he can't put a guy out anymore. Where do we go from here when they're when there's no longer an established hierarchy of power moves and finishers? Where do we go?
Yeah, it's too much circus delay. You know what I mean? It's, it's not about selling. And the last time I seen somebody sell, and it's crazy. It was Ken Shamrock selling in TNA when
Mm,
he was selling for somebody, and it's like this is how it's done.
yeah.
It's Ken Shamrock. I mean, he was in WWE, but it's like my God, they don't do it no more though.
Well, there are guys that do. And I would point to there was, so let me ask you this. We want to get into the weeds on weird wrestling shit. The NWA.
Okay,
So when we're talking WCW, for those who are listening who might not be as nerdy as us here, but the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, was kind of the overseeing entity over what was regional wrestling before it boiled down to the two companies essentially we've known since the 90s, right? And NWA as a brand went away because the territories ultimately failed. And that was because, due in large part, to Vince McMahon Jr. taking the company over from his dad and then deciding to pillage all the talent and essentially run roughshod over TV time and everything else. So NWA was dead for a long time. A long time. It was near irrelevant, although the belts still floated around and you'd still have the NWA belt even defended in some different shows. Like I think TNA held on to it and stuff. The reason I bring all this up, Billy Corgan, of all people, eventually picks up the NWA as an owner and starts to build it up, bringing studio wrestling back. And I loved it. When that was first coming around, I was every week glued to it. I hadn't been interested in wrestling in I don't know how long at that point, but it felt so old school, long term grudge stuff. The wrestlers weren't just like pretty people. It was, it felt like the classic Harley Race and Ric Flair and whatever, all the territory days. And I thought that Billy, by and large, did a good job of booking it. This all leads to the point of me bringing this up and rambling is that there was a point where Nick Aldis became the champ.
yeah,
I didn't know Nick Aldis prior to NWA.
I
I
did.
because I think that he had been in a number of different places. I think for sure he was in TNA
He was.
and maybe was he in WWF at some point prior to that too?
I don't know. He was in TNA as a character called Magnus.
Yes, that's right. I remember hearing that, but I didn't have that frame of reference. When I was introduced to him, he was the suave, classy, kind of snob. He was chasing the belt in NWA, but when he won it, by that time he had become a face and he was like the gentleman champion. He wrestled all the time, defended it all the time, and I loved his presentation of his character with it. He was great in the ring. He's amazing at selling, and he was always happy to put other people over. To me, he's kind of the last great champion that I can acknowledge and point to and be like, I was paying attention while this guy was champion and he was outstanding. And I can't find real holes in the storytelling that they were doing with him. I was excited to hear that he was wrestling at SummerSlam, but I have not yet seen it. So let me ask you, did you see that match?
I did, and unfortunately, Nick Aldis did not go over.
Right. I
Uh,
assumed he wouldn't.
he
Yeah.
wouldn't, but in the same sense, I feel, I'm not a WWE mark,
Yeah.
and they're wasting his time basically.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
Because
I'll
he's
let
kind
you.
of like a GM, right? Isn't
Yeah,
that his role now?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's what he's doing. I like that they put him in the ring. It was
Mm-hmm.
long overdue.
Yeah.
His entrance was good. His performance was amazing, and why shouldn't it be? He's been in the ring before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel WWE's problem is they don't want to put younger talent over. They're afraid to make a star,
Mm,
um, which is sad because they used to make tons of stars.
yeah.
uh, but the two I watch like not regularly because again I don't have that much time anymore.
Right.
But the two I try to catch is NWA and I try to catch JCW. Which you talk about characters, they're there. They're more
Now,
there.
where do you watch JCW though?
You can watch it on YouTube.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll send you a link if you're.
Here's what I remember about JCW. I remember it when it was, and I'm pretty sure I still have them when ICP did the Kawasaki Deathmatch tournament tape
Oh,
with their commentary over it. Have you seen that?
yes.
Oh my God. It is one of the greatest things ever. And I didn't know who they were at the time, but in being introduced to them through that, I was just like, what? This is one of the funniest things I've ever heard. And then to find out that there's such hardcore wrestling guys. And so my memory of JCW is when it was Juggalo Championship Wrestling in its early days. And it was everything I saw was really bad, like really bad. But I understand it's come a long way and they changed it to championship. And they're actually getting some pretty decent talent from what I
Well,
understand in there.
they still call it Juggalo Championship Wrestling, which is funny. My
But they don't
favorite.
say shit anymore.
Yeah, here or there they
Oh, do
say.
they? So
They
they still
they
say
they
championship wrestling?
well they say Championship Wrestling, but
Okay.
they say like on this show they'll say cuss words. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
sure. Yeah.
But
I'm talking about the name of the company
oh
because
no,
initially,
they don't say shit. They say chip. They say
okay,
chip.
got it.
Sorry,
Got it.
sorry about
Okay.
that.
All right.
But my favorite thing on there, the zombies managed by Barnabas the Bazaar, uh, where
What the hell?
they're doing cocaine.
Oh no.
It's like what the fuck?
Oh God.
It's like what is this?
Oh.
Oh my
So
god!
who have you seen? Okay, we're talking about bringing up young talent and WWF and all that. And sorry, WWE. I'm going to do that. That's going to happen. It just does.
No, I
Um,
mean
so give me an example of in JCW, who are some young people in there that they're doing a good job with and I should look up.
there's a guy in there. I like the rest. I've talked about the zombies with Barnabas and Bazaar.
Mm-hmm.
They're good. There's a big guy who's sort of like Frankenstein looking. He has this green mask, and
Mm.
he looks like something out of a horror movie. Justin, it's pure entertainment.
Okay. All
Uh,
right.
but
I'm in.
I like Caleb Conley. He's a good heel. He's like, and he's not just annoying because Vince Russo's with him. Um,
Oh God. Oh, Russo's there. Oh
yeah,
no.
he's
Oh
there.
no.
It's like crazy, but
Okay.
I do like what's the guy's name? Kerry Morton. He's the son of
Oh, Ricky's son.
yeah,
He
yeah.
was in NWA for a long time. Yeah.
He's really good. He's really good in the ring, and I love his look and the way he presents his character because he does this random shit at times, and he's just pure entertainment when he's on.
Okay.
So he's someone to watch, and the women in there are actually have pretty entertaining matches.
Great.
So I mean, there are a lot. The commentary team is funny, but from again, I don't watch all the time, but I watch here or there. So that some I'll send it to you. You can watch it if you hate it. You hate it. If you don't, good for you. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, I'm down to watch goofy stuff. I mean, wrestling in my mind, so many people take it just too seriously.
they do.
This is meant to be fun. I love Danhausen, for example. I am
Yes.
I am thrilled from the first. I got the same guy who I got the demolition mask for years ago, Jake. We encountered videos of Danhausen before he was even in AEW, and we were kind of like this guy's like a horror host. He's an in ring horror host like Svengoolie or Goulardi or whoever. So I got him a cameo from Danhausen back in the beginning, and I think it was like $10. And I'm sure now it's way more than that, but it's so exciting to see him kind of accidentally end up where he is right now and accidentally become the top merch seller in this big company. I think it's so great. And I love goofiness. I love the Yeti, as we've discussed. I love the
Yes.
Demon. I love Shockmaster. I love all the trash. I want RoboCop coming out and
There
barely
you
able
go.
to open a cage. I want Chucky on the Titantron or whatever it is. I I want Bastion Booger, whose theme is literally just farts
Yep.
as he stomps his way down to the ring. So I'm ready for some JCW, and I will check it out.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Definitely. Uh, I have to ask you, what, because I'm a Dark Shadows fan. There's an in development is a Dark Shadows adult animation series, as you know. This will be my final question. So, who would you cast to voice Barnabas?
If we're freeing it from being someone who's British,
BR.
uh, I I think, well, it depends on his age. I One of my favorite voices in the world, and this won't shock you to hear, is Andrew Devoff.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if we're talking about, and somehow over the last few days, as I've just been here working, editing, and writing, whatever, I just have the TV on and I flip through these various streaming channels, like through Pluto or whatever. There have been like 5 movies with Andy in them in the last like 3 days. Somehow, I don't know what's happening with the universe, but it'll just be some random channel I select, and there he is on TV again, and it happened again today. So he's the first guy I point to when you need someone with some gravitas to do a voice, and it breaks my heart that he's not out there doing more. And I just love the guy dearly, of course, but I think that would be my choice. And if it was younger, I would say maybe someone like a Kyle Gallner who can go dark, who has who can also make things a little fun. He can sprinkle some humor, or some sly humor at least, into what he's doing. He's just such a talented, versatile actor. He's my favorite. I'm going to say young. I know he's not like a fresh face at this point, but one of
Right.
my absolute favorite contemporary younger actors is Kyle.
Cool.
What about you?
My two for younger would be Alan Tudyk, who's a very accomplished voice actor.
Oh yeah,
He's done a lot of stuff.
yeah.
But for older, John D. Lancey,
Okay,
who's just, my God, he's got that deep enough, he can make his voice deep.
right.
And to your point about British, I think that's the thing people need to remember. Jonathan Fred is Canadian.
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, and there's interviews of him too where he said I was a fake playing a fake.
yeah, yeah.
He's talked about that.
He's
Um,
great. He was so great.
when he was around. I mean, so he's got some of the most fascinating interviews because he had no problem letting people know, hey, look, I was, because he says the most sinister thing about Barnabas was he was a liar. You know,
Mm,
Barnabas was a liar.
yeah,
It's not wrong. So,
yeah. Right, right.
oh my gosh.
I love that he kept ownership of that, though, that he never ran from that
No,
character. And he also seemed to really understand what it meant to generations of fans. And that is something that can easily, like, we see time and again, people who kind of, I don't know if it's directly, it might be too strong to say turning their back
right.
on the fans, but I like the people who stay in touch with it and who never shy away from discussion about things like that. They're not like, oh, I don't talk about that anymore.
Do,
That's a
do you know,
part of my past. Like, oh,
did,
come on.
did you know how he ended up not doing House of Dark Shadow, or sorry, not doing Night of Dark Shadows, which was a sequel to House supposed to.
No.
This is funny. So I was talking to Will McKinley and Nancy Kersey on here, and they both worked for him.
Mhm.
And they were telling me that Jonathan didn't even necessarily tell them no. He basically set his price tag too high on purpose. And Nancy always joked like there's an older there's they went up to Lyndhurst, Will and Nancy did, and you can hear Nancy said, "Man, wouldn't he have been in shock if they did pay him?" Oh my God! But that's I've always found that fascinating. But yeah, um,
Yeah, yeah, that kind of that's there's so much there for people who do the legwork to try to dig that kind of stuff up and pull it out of the realm of mythology
yeah,
and give some validity to the stories behind those things. I think that's great. That's good stuff, man.
yeah. Well, before you go, I'm going to leave links to your website on the description box because I know you have an album coming out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the second album, I have this solo music project called Phantom Light Keeper. It's this weirdo, atmospheric, spooky, I don't know, music. And the first album came out last October, and this is all self-released on my own label called Reverend Releasing. And
Cool.
this and the second one comes out very soon. I was supposed to have the vinyl this week for release on Friday. It's on vinyl and CD, and then it'll be on streaming in September. But the vinyl is behind because the Waxwork is a soundtrack label, and they're the ones who press my records for me. And they, I don't know if they underestimated it, but they've been surprised by the response to them releasing the Obsession soundtrack on vinyl.
Yeah,
And I guess they just have to keep cranking those things out to keep up with orders right now. And I understand why my piddly little weirdo record with a limited run didn't exactly hit the priority list for them. So that's a long way to say if you go to justinbeahm.com, you can pre-order it. If when I send it, it'll have a digital download of the whole album. It is there on CD as well. And then I think it's the 18th of September on Spotify, Apple, and all the rest of the platforms. So thank you for asking about that. Appreciate it.
oh, you're welcome, man. No problem. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me your time. Thank you very much. It is an honor to have you on here and a blast. So
Absolutely. Likewise. Thank you.
thank you. You have a good night, man.
Yeah. Thanks again. Have a good one.
You too. Bye bye.